Hi, everyone, and welcome to another really special Talking Some episode. Romi is back with us for the second time, so welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back.
So nice to have you. And for those of you who have not checked out, the first episode with Romi, do check it out. But it was we released that June 8th, so pretty much 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of from my perspective, like talking to you, I could see that you're doing really well. You were on a really nice trajectory, but there were some things that I also thought like, okay, I think there will probably be even more things that Romy will discover along this path. And then what happened was you wrote a really, really nice review of BedTyme that I saw, and then I was like, that reminded me like, oh, we should talk to Romy again. So here we are. So welcome back again.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me. And I hope the review was beneficial because it was completely honest, every bit of it.
Oh, those helped more than anything else. So I'm really grateful for it. And I wrote down a few things that I wanted to like ask you about, but actually I want to start with you. So in June, again, you shared that things had become much easier, but you still had questions like you asked me, sort of like, any tips for kind of falling asleep sooner? That was still, you're still struggling a little bit with that.
Yeah.
So just overall, from then to now, how things been going?
Great question. So funny enough, I used BedTyme for about a month. I had Veronica as my coach, which was really helpful. She was fantastic. She was very receptive. And honestly, for the people that are struggling, I invite you to use BedTyme. It's a great app to take advantage of since you have it. But um, full transparency, the last month and a half, especially, I'd say, it's almost perfection. I can't even say it's not. And sure, there are nights where I'll have tossing and turning, or I feel like I'm not sleeping. Um, but Daniel, it goes back to the same thing. I'll be fine. I'll be fine tomorrow. I'll just get through it. And then eventually I'll just conk out and my body will give out. And it happens, right? So for context, the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I've been sleeping fantastic. It's odd. Like I go to bed and I, let's say, struggle for 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, why am I not sleeping? And before you know it, you're out. And you're out. And I wake up at 7 and I'm like, oh my God, I slept through. I had dreams. Funny enough, last night though, I went to bed at 10:30. I was yawning, and same thing. I started tossing and turning a lot, and I felt very uncomfortable throughout the night. But I didn't get upset. I was like, it's fine. It's the first time in weeks. I'm sure tomorrow will be just fine, and if it's not, the next day. So I didn't get it. I didn't get upset. I didn't get any way about it. I had a couple of dreams, which meant I obviously slept. To think that I didn't, this in and out type of sleep thing, and my wife wakes up a bit earlier than me, and I turned over and I said, "Don't look at the time," and then I asked out of curiosity, I'm like, "What time is it?" She goes, "It's 6:45." I go, "It's 6:45?" She's like, "Yeah, what do you think it was?" I'm like, "3?" So this whole thing about like, am I sleeping or not? Evidently, so I am, right? And that was just last night. Prior to that, it's been fantastic. I won't even lie, and it's been great. Um, and I'm so thankful, Daniel. I'm so thankful for coming across this channel and trying to finding a solution. And honestly, I went back to living my life like exactly the way I used to, um, and it's been a blessing. It's been a hell of a blessing. To say that.
Amazing. I'm so glad to hear this, and it's just funny randomly. Like yesterday, I had a kind of similar night actually. Like I was, for some odd reason, I don't even know why. I just felt a little like kind of like that hyper kind of buzz, and I was like, "What am I nervous about?" I don't even know. We were kind of what it took quite a long time to fall asleep, but
Mm.
eventually I did. And again, just to illustrate that happens to everyone. And of course, when we had a struggle with something in the past, it can be like a little bit more, like a little bit more fierce. But anyway, super glad to hear this. And I'm sort of glad that I wrote down some questions, because oftentimes these like follow-up interviews can be quite short because there's not so much to talk about. But
Of
I
course.
had one thing that actually you told me about after we finished recording last time, which I thought was so helpful, was you had mentioned during the interview that you had this like earworm, this kind of song that was like going on and on in your brain. So maybe tell us a little bit about that and how that actually ended.
Yeah. So initially, when this whole thing started, I'm sure there were other things in my life that were causing a sense of anxiety. Obviously, the compounding lack of sleep caused it. And my kids, I have two kids, they listen to songs on repeat, especially the younger one. You find Frozen and you find Moana, they just stick to it. But my daughter was playing this one song over and over again. It was a great song, but every time I would go to bed, it would be stuck in my head. And no matter what, I couldn't get past it. And that song shifted to another song and another song. And eventually, as we worked together and I worked through BedTyme, I spoke to Veronica and she was like, man, I had that too. It was terrible. Now, she said, she was like, I was terrified of listening to music. And I had gotten to that space too. I started listening to podcasts and I stopped listening to music, which was crazy. I love music. I was very shocked. And eventually she said, you just kind of have to accept it. Just if it comes in your brain, just accept it and play it through, make it a part of your dream or something. And the next time it happened, I said, F it, I'll just roll with it. And if it plays all night in my head, that's fine. And evidently, so that's what happened. And one day I was in my car and I saw the song pop up and I said, let's just play it. And I played it, didn't bug me at all, no problem. And yeah, I kind of overcame it that way. And last night there was actually a different song stuck in my head over and over again. But guess what? I didn't get upset about it. I was like, all right, let's just go with it. It's fine. And the thing is, what I've learned, Daniel, is the more you get frustrated and upset about these things, the more you impact yourself in the entire scheme of things, right? So once I got past that, it's fine. Like I woke up, I'm not gonna lie, I woke up a little tired, and I was like, I'm feeling a little lethargic in my brain. But I'm like, it's fine. Let's go to work. Let's go to the gym. I just finished at the gym prior to getting on this call with you, by the way. Killed it. Did a great workout. And it's not a problem. And my wife, I'm so thankful to have a partner like her. She's like, these nights happen. She's like, these nights happen to me a lot. She's like, I just don't make a big deal of it. I don't tell you. I move on, and then the next day I pass the hell out. So defeated the earworm, to say the least. And if it does come back to my head or any song, I just kind of roll with it. It's fun.
Yeah, I think I was so glad we had a chance to like hear from you here, because it kind of illustrates in such a nice way the core principle of like, the classic one of what you resist persists. Like there's this earworm, this particular song, and they were like, how can I get rid of it? Why am I hearing this? And then it just like is emphasized, because the brain always wants to tell us things that we don't want to hear. But then you actually did the opposite of like, I'm going to play that song, the very song that I'm afraid of. And lo and behold, like when we're willing to face what we're scared of, there's nothing there. Like the brain sees there's nothing there. So it's so helpful. And by the way, for everyone, if it's not super clear to everyone, what you said is so true. It's not about what happens. It's always about like how we react to what happens,
Yes. Yeah.
And but that said, I had some questions. Last time we spoke, I remember like at the end of the interview, I was like, okay, I think there's some things that may be even more clear for Romi as time goes by. And then I wanted to find exactly what I had been thinking about, and I couldn't exactly find it, but I have some ideas. And here's
Sure.
one. So when we spoke last time, you described how you were describing how like you said like, oh, for the last 7 days or so, I've been waking up at 6 a.m. and one night I woke up like 5, but that's okay.
Hmm.
And there was an element of like sort of keeping track, keeping
Yes.
score, which oftentimes after a while that kind of just fades out. But has that happened for you?
So I don't do that anymore at all. So as I said, like for the past month and a half, almost 2 months, when I do end up going to bed, if I do wake up, it's to go to the washroom. And then one of my fears is I'm not going to be able to sleep again. Doesn't exist anymore. Go back to bed and I pass out again, which is remarkable. I do, or I was, keeping very close to the timeless window. I did stick to that. I was like 11:30, 7 o'clock, yada, yada, yada. But I mentioned earlier that I went back to living life. So I wanted to eliminate that. And guess what? Once I eliminated it, I'm not too worried about it. I don't care what time I go to bed. And my goal is basically wake up at 7, 7:30. And sometimes, every now and then on a weekend, I've slept until 8, 8:30. And I'm like, I tell my wife, I'm like, why don't you wake me up? She's like, what do you mean? You're sleeping? And I was like, that's remarkable. And to be honest with you, I was very inclined to be like, I'm on the couch till 10:30, 11, and then I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to pass out, or I don't want to look at the time past 11:30. But as life moves on and I start going out, socializing with people, I went out with my wife to a party one night. We got home at, I think, 12:30, and I'm like, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm so wired. It's 1 a.m. I'm terrified. I go to bed, toss and turn for like 5 minutes, and I'm out. I'm like, what the hell? All the things that I used to be able to do are coming back to a sense of normalcy, and I'm just, I'm so happy. I can't even say like I'm not, And like I said, some nights are off. Right? I had one night we had a couple of drinks, and my heart was racing all night. That's from the alcohol, and I'm like, I'm not comfortable sleeping. That's all it is. Don't be mad about it. Move on with your day. Next night, went straight to bed, passed out, had a great night.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So super nice to hear this, of course, and just really for people tuning in here, just kind of emphasize something you said, which is that those things that we teach about, like the timeless sleep window, kind of just like set a time and don't, and yeah, kind of don't check the time, don't
yeah,
monitor time. It can be really helpful when we've been in this place of like really having control, but ultimately we don't need that either. So eventually, like you said, eventually it's okay to check the time because there's no fear anymore. We just go back to living our life. So
that's it. No fear anymore. That's the thing. I remember, that's a great point, Daniel. I remember waking up one night and accidentally, I looked, I think I got a notification on my phone and I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. I looked over, it was 2:45. And previously, the previous Romi would have been like, oh my God, it's 2:45. I didn't sleep. Oh my God. I just went, okay, great. Put it back to the dark, like to sleep. And I went right back to bed. And I'm like, if I don't sleep, I don't sleep. I'll just toss and turn. I'll relax. It's fine. And of course, I fell asleep. And keep in mind, I was doing CBT-I prior to, and I think that regimented solution did not work for me. Absolutely not. And you made a great point. I used to wind down. Nothing wrong with winding down, turning off like electronics and reading books, which is great. But I had it goes back to the one thing I learned from you, Daniel, is if you do everything with intent, it's not going to go. So once I stopped doing that, watched TV on the couch with my wife, slumped over, passed out on the couch, I was back to normal. The only thing that sucks is this habit where I'll pass out on the couch like, oh my God, I pass out like it's nothing. And then I wake up, it's been an hour, and my wife's like, let's go to bed. And I go to bed and I'm like, damn, now I got to toss and turn a little bit. But I do pass out eventually. I don't know what you call that, but it's a sense of normalcy for me, like going back to that.
yeah, I think it's totally like if we sleep for quite a while, then there will be a little less sleep drive. Like we just like our body may not need to sleep at that moment, so we may take a little longer to fall asleep. But again, like you said, it's the reaction to it that matters. Um, and yeah, so very very nicely said. I think we talked about that. We talked about this. And, oh yeah, this one. One thing you brought up last time we spoke was that you were binging the content. You're still, even though things were getting easy for you, you were watching a lot of tuning into almost every episode.
Yeah.
Did that change?
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you. So there was something you said to me last time that was so true, which was just like anything in life, once you get bored of it, once you've gone past it, you have no interest in the subject. And it kind of got to that point. Not that I'm bored of it. I think the subject matter is great. I just think I got to a better place in my life, and I thought, Daniel, if I keep going back to this, it's going to put me in a headspace where it's not positive for me. You know what I mean? So and you took a break, which was great. I didn't get to see the pop ups on my YouTube channel, which was great. So I didn't have that. But then the comments would pop up from people that are going through the struggle on my video, and I didn't want to do them a disservice, so I replied to them, and I wanted to assure them that they'll get past it as well. But full transparency, yeah, I don't want to lie. I avoid the videos because I don't have a need for them anymore. The stories were helpful. The journey was helpful. I have a new skill set in how to tackle sleep now, so I'm thankful, and I hope your content gets a lot more plays and views and everything. It's just, I'm past it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm yeah, just really happy to hear this, and it's so nice to hear it from you because I say this a lot, but it's completely different hearing from you. You're living proof of the fact that when we are less interested, we just naturally stop tuning in because a lot of people are like, "Hey, Daniel, should I stop watching your content? Is it important that I stop watching it?" And I'm always like, it will happen naturally as your interest in it fades. So I guess
I,
yeah, yeah,
I did want to bring something up. I've been educating some friends that have kind of gone through rough nights. And I've shared with them your story and your channel and everything. And I've shared with them the illusion of being concerned about health and the lack of sleep. And often the answer is the same. It's like, oh my God, how do you know that? That's not true. I can't operate the same way. And I challenge them and say, trust me, I can go to the gym on 3 hours of sleep and operate and work and do these things. You can do it as well. And trust me, it's not that you're going days without sleep. Your body will give out. The sleep drive will kick in and it will, come to fruition. You will go to sleep. And it's been helpful for quite a few people that I've interacted with. So I just wanted to say that the messaging goes further than just me.
yeah, that's amazing. It always
Yeah.
makes me so happy to hear that because that's like I see that as how we can reach more people. Like somebody understands, they go through something themselves, they help others. So that's amazing. So glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And so last thing I wrote down was, when I spoke, I don't remember the exact details, but I remember you and I believe your wife too, habitually, like, you took marijuana in some shape or
We
form.
did. We did. Yeah.
You stopped it, and then you went back to it, but you had some questions about it. But yeah, what happened there?
So we did stop. I think because with the lack of sleep and having it one day gave me a panic attack, and it was something I never experienced. And by the way, in Canada, it's very legal, right? So, and I had done it growing up, but then it stopped, and to be completely transparent, it became again with the intent of I stopped because the intent was to not have it affect my sleep. And again, it was incorrect. That wasn't the right thing to do. So we went back to it, but only once on the weekends, maybe every 2 weeks. So it's an occasional thing now. It's not centered around sleep every night. But in transparency, if I when we do it on the weekend or whatever, we pass out so quickly, and that's just the natural component of marijuana. That's what it does. It makes you tired and makes you pass out. But the intent is not to sleep. It's just to go back to a sense of normalcy, so we can go have fun when the kids are doing something with our parents, and we can go out and be parents ourselves. Like a fun couple. So yeah, we did stop for 4 months or so fully, um, and then we just recreationally picked it up every now and then. So
Yeah.
and it's
Again,
been
part
good.
of living your life. It makes total sense. And just for I know how some people who hear this think that, and when they hear you say like, oh, it's a sedative, it just like knocks you out,
Yeah,
they'll be like, oh, it's gonna knock me out, but then
no,
it's not. Right?
no, not at all. And here's the thing: the intent is if we do it and we are at home watching a movie, with the intent of watching the movie, we pass out. Our intent is not to go to sleep. It's just the way it works, right? With our body. If I was there going, oh my God, this is going to put me to sleep, it's not going to do it. That is the biggest takeaway I've had from this entire journey. Any form of intent will stop you from sleeping.
Yeah.
And you know what, Daniel? Last night, when we were on the couch, we were watching a show, and my wife was passing out, and I said, let's go to bed. She said, you're not tired. You're not even yawning. I said, no, let's go to bed. That was my mistake. I wasn't tired. I don't know why the hell I went to bed. That's probably why my night was like that. And the night prior to, I slept 9 hours almost. My sleep drive really wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, again, intent. It all goes back to intent for me. That's what I've
Yeah.
learned.
100%. And yeah, I have nothing to add to what you said. It was exactly what I want to convey. So basically, as usual, these like the follow-ups often become shorter because there's not so much to talk about, which is a wonderful thing because
It is. It
the
is.
struggle is fading.
I saw a lot of people's videos, and if I may take 2 minutes to say
Yeah,
that, the people
100%.
that you had the follow up with, some of the people were very successful in their journey. Some people have hit the speed bumps, and some people are still struggling a year later. I'm thankful that I'm not in that place. And a lot of it had to do with my thinking, my headspace, my lifestyle, going back to normal. Like I said, prior to hitting this roadblock in our lives, like you said, it comes out of nowhere for everybody. And it might come back later. I just have the tools to deal with it now. And I just want to say I'm so thankful. And anybody that's watching this video, hang on, trust the process. It will happen. Um, just I'm thankful, and this is a genuine smile. I'm very thankful. And truth be told, if I don't sleep again tonight, I won't be mad. I may message you and be like, "Damn, it didn't happen again," but I'll be good tomorrow. It'll be okay. It'll be all right. And anybody that's listening, just like I said, trust the process. You'll be okay. We'll get there.
Perfect. We will conclude there with those words of wisdom, Romy. And again, thanks so much for being here, and we shall be in touch. All right.
Of course. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay. Bye, everyone.